The film opens with sounds of news reports regarding the sad state of the world. Children are now a thing of the past as a global pandemic struck 18 years ago, causing global infertility. Theo Ferron is making his way through the crowd. The people in the crowd have their eyes glued to the TV, where they learn that the youngest person in the world, named Diego, was killed. He was a beloved figure and was called Baby Diego by the general public. He was the last person born before the infertility crisis that ravaged the world. He was kept under 24-hour surveillance, giving him a celebrity-esque stature. Diego was killed by a disgruntled fan outside a bar in Buenos Aires, who stabbed him after he refused to sign an autograph for him. The crowd is saddened by the news of his sudden passing. Theo takes his coffee and leaves, unaffected by the news. The year is 2027 and Theo is walking through the streets of a dystopian London filled with policemen, vehicles, air pollution, and civilians going on about their day. He stops to add liquor to his coffee, but a bomb goes off in the coffee shop, and bodies of civilians are littered on the street. Theo, now suffering from ringing in his ears, goes to work. It seems that everyone in the office is affected by the news of baby Diego's passing. Annoying Theo, he goes to talk to his boss, but instead of complaining, tells him that he is very affected by Diego's passing and asks if he can finish his work at home. He takes the bus where a TV shows how the entire world has collapsed. Terrorist attacks have ravaged cities on every continent, and major cities such as New York, Paris, Moscow, and Tokyo have been wrecked by acts of nuclear terrorism. Britain stands strong, but tidal waves of refugees have been escaping to it. Theo has not been paying attention to the TV as he's thinking about something and is lost in his thoughts. He is startled by rocks thrown at the bus by some teenagers. He reaches his destination and sees people in cages guarded by policemen, pleading to get out. Theo seems unaffected by what he has seen and meets his friend, Jasper. Theo and Jasper ride in a car while discussing the bombing that Theo witnessed. They discuss who did it, with Jasper joking about how sad he'd be to lose both Theo and Diego on the same day. Theo exclaims his distaste for Diego, calling him a wanker, while Jasper jokes around. They witness a heavily armored bus holding captured refugees, with Jasper calling them unlucky Fugees, who, despite their hardships to reach Britain, were hunted by the government and taken to Bexhill prison. They reach the edge of a forest and discuss Theo's love life while clearing out some foliage, which seems to be hiding a secret path. They finally reach their destination, a house deep in the woods. The house belongs to Jasper and his disabled wife and is filled with pictures and news articles about previous world events and what Jasper and his wife used to do. Jasper was a political cartoonist, while his wife was a photojournalist. It is suggested that her physical and psychological condition is the result of being tortured by MI5. They offer her a scarf while Theo presents a saddening look towards a picture of what seems like his family photo. The two smoke ganja, which is illegal, grown by Jasper, which he also sells to various people, including a refugee officer in Bexhill prison. Jasper tries to joke about the concept of the Human Project, which seems to be a project trying to increase the human population. Theo believes that it is a fairy tale and says that the world has already gone to shit despite the efforts, presenting a nihilistic outlook. Jasper tells him he was trying to tell a joke, getting annoyed at Theo's nihilism, but finishes the joke anyway. Both of them laugh, but Theo seems to be physically affected by the bombings from earlier. Jack turns on the music and does his antics, followed by laughter. Theo wakes up in his London apartment and goes about his regular day. He at first sees soldiers evacuating and capturing Fugees from an apartment and gets barked at by a soldier and his dog. He also sees, to his disappointment, a candlelight and flower vigil for baby Diego. He's suddenly grabbed and pushed into a van. The group explains that they're the rebels called Fishes who are fighting against the government. To his mild surprise, it's revealed that their leader is his ex-wife, Julian. The pair catch up with some mild flirting, but Theo accuses them of bombing the coffee shop where he was yesterday. He bickers with the group about their actions, especially the radical ones. Julian explains that they're on a path of nonviolence. She asks him to walk with her outside. Outside, Julian asks for his help regarding transit papers for a refugee. Theo tries to evade by saying it's impossible, but she suggests he ask his cousin, a high-ranking civil servant. She even offers him a reward of £5,000, but he still refuses. Julian, annoyed, orders her men to forcefully subjugate him back into the van. They give him the reward and some bus fare and leave him in the middle of the street, still with his face covered. Theo walks past a billboard that says, "Avoiding fertility test is a crime." He is picked up by a car and is driven through the streets with various protests. A while into the drive, he reaches the upper-class section, seeing all the well-off folks in a cleaner environment. He reaches his cousin's place. After a brief stint with the security, he meets with his cousin, Nigel. He is also a curator of the Ark of Arts, a secure depository for works of art rescued from the worldwide social meltdown. After catching up, the two and Nigel's son have a lavish dinner and get down to business. Nigel asks why Theo is visiting him. Theo makes up a story about a girl he's seeing and her wish to see her sick brother before asking Nigel if he can manage the transit papers. Nigel is a bit agitated due to the demands of the task and lashes out at his son to take his pills, but he assures Theo he'll see what he can do. Theo, who is happy about the positive news, asks Nigel why he collects all these things, to which he replies that he doesn't care about it. Theo is visibly awestruck by the answer. Theo meets with Luke, who gives him information regarding the meetup, but he says that he must also escort the refugee girl due to the nature of the papers, a joint transit paper. Luke asks him if he's up for the task, and he agrees to do it for more money. He goes to the dog racing track where he bets and wins. An old woman suddenly asks him if he has seen the dog in the poster, which is a signal to follow her. Theo cashes his winning bet before following the woman. She leads him to a bus where he meets his ex-wife. They start talking cordially, but get into an argument regarding the death of their son. They get off the bus to get to the meetup location. On the way, Theo tries to ask Julian about their situation, but gets shot down by her. They get to the meetup location, where he gets his money from Luke. He gets inside the car where he meets Miriam and the refugee girl, Key. Theo notices that Key has a foul mouth. He talks sarcastically with them before taking a nap. The group travels by car in the woods. Theo is woken up by the others due to his snoring, and he immediately begins to grill Key. Julian talks about their old days before the divorce, like when Theo was an activist and he negotiated with the police. Julian grabs a table tennis ball and forces Theo to play like they used to. Suddenly, they're ambushed by a band of robbers, and Julian gets shot in the throat during the scuffle. They are held down by the police but manage to escape as Luke kills them. The group holds a funeral and a farewell for Julian. Theo, who at first does not seem affected by her passing, distances himself to forcefully drink his liquor. He tries to smoke, but is visibly shaken by the death of his wife, breaking down. They reach a safe house where other fishes reside. Theo begrudgingly decides to stay in the safe house after Luke denies his request to return. After cleaning himself up, he is kept under the supervision of Tomasz before being called by Key. Meanwhile, the group decides to appoint Luke as their new leader. In the barn, Key explains how animals are abused by researchers. She talks about his son and tells him that Julian told her she could only trust him. She follows by talking about the boat tomorrow and how he can take her to it. Theo gets annoyed, telling her that he cannot grasp the situation, and decides to leave. But suddenly she strips down to reveal that she is pregnant. He also learns that the fishes knew about her pregnancy and what's at stake. Later, a news report is shown about Julian's death and how the remaining 4 are suspects under the police's radar. The fishes hold a meeting regarding the situation they're in, as well as for the well-being of Key. Theo gets hit with some snide remarks by some members as he's an outsider. A heated group discussion ensues and he debates with the members regarding the welfare of Key and her baby. But since he's an outsider, his opinions are disregarded. Key is asked to decide her fate by the members. She, though under Theo's suggestion, decides that she'll have her baby in the safe house and then go for the human project. Later at night, Theo has a hard time sleeping. He hears some noises and goes to check it out and is shocked to see the group who ambushed them earlier. He finds out the group is at the safe house and is conspiring with Luke. He hears that Luke plans to use Key's baby as a political weapon. Luke also orders a hit on Theo. Theo goes up to Key and persuades her to escape with him, along with Miriam. The trio struggle to escape using the cars, finally taking the one that can be jump-started. A frenzy ensues and they fight off the members, while also pushing the car downhill to start it. They finally escape, leaving the group behind. They go to Jasper's hideout. Theo gets inside to find him lifeless, but he is just sleeping. Theo introduces Jasper to the two ladies. He rests up while Miriam explains to the group that the rendezvous with Tomorrow, disguised as a fishing trawler, is scheduled to take place off the coast before the ship heads towards the human project. The next morning, Jasper hatches a plan to get them arrested and smuggle themselves via Bexhill, using the officer he sells his pot to. Jasper is seen asking Miriam to smoke his weed. He talks about how the universe is a mix of faith and chance. Key sees Theo's family picture and asks about them. Jasper explains what happened between Theo, Julian, and their son Dylan through the subtext of fate and chance he was talking about earlier. Theo secretly listens to the ongoing conversation while preparing himself a drink, before heading up as he cannot bear the trauma. Later, Luke and his crew invade Jasper's home. Theo, Miriam, and Key get ready to escape using Jasper's instructions. He reluctantly has to accept that Jasper and his wife are not going. Jasper sits down with his wife and dog, telling her he loves her before readying a drink. The trio distance themselves from Jasper's house. Luke and his men invade the house, finding out that his wife and dog are already dead. Jasper tries to joke around with the fishes, asking Luke to pull his finger, but he gets shot instead, angering Theo, who lashes out at Miriam before driving off. Theo wakes up to find himself in an abandoned school. He goes inside and gets spooked by a deer. He finds Key outside on the swing while Miriam is inside. She begins to recount her past. She tells him that she was a midwife who witnessed the beginning of the infertility crisis from her maternity ward. The trio head out after they hear sirens, but Theo is abruptly stopped at gunpoint by a military vehicle. An officer steps out and Theo calls him a fascist pig, which angers the officer, only to find out that he's Jasper's customer. They head out in his vehicle. The officer, Sid, reveals that he's good friends with Jasper. Sid takes them to Bexhill, perplexed on why they want to get into prison, but he also says that he doesn't care. He tells them to find a gypsy woman named Marichka among the Fujis who will provide them accommodation. The trio head out to the camp in a bus, where Miriam assures that Luke doesn't have the contact to infiltrate the human project. But Theo is more worried that Miriam has never talked with them. In a shocking turn of events, Key's water breaks, and she begins to have contractions and cries due to the pain. They reach a checkpoint where a guard begins to inspect the bus, taking out anyone who annoys him. During the inspection, the guard notices Key, but Miriam steps in. She acts crazily and gets beaten and taken outside, but Theo manages to evade him. After a harrowing display of tortured and dead refugees outside, the bus stops and they get off to look for the woman suggested by Sid. They get into an altercation with street thugs before finding the woman, who takes them to a room. After getting to the room, Key has to give birth. Theo makes room for her and helps her safely deliver the baby. The baby comes out, and they both celebrate. The next morning, Sid comes to their room urgently along with the gypsy woman. He tells them that the fishes have invaded the camp and plan to destroy the area with explosives. He assures them that he'll help them escape. Sid notices the dog pestering Key and asks her what she's hiding. He finds out about the baby. Sid asks them to hurry up, but the gypsy woman tries to stop him, which angers him. Sid holds everyone at gunpoint and tells them that he knew they both are part of the fishes, who killed the cop from the news. He knows that if both the fishes and the cops are looking for them, they are sought-after commodities. The gypsy woman keeps pestering Sid, and he hits her. He tells them he intends to take the baby while holding them at gunpoint. Out of nowhere, the gypsy woman jumps and knocks him out, helping Theo and Key to escape. They follow the woman after Theo asks her about the boat. The trio pass along demonstrations held by people of different ideologies and ethnicities before they reach a bank. The gypsy woman negotiates with a guard before asking Key to show the baby to an old rich British couple. The couple takes everyone in and is delighted by the baby. Theo learns about the boat's arrival time and is gifted shoes by the guard. He notices that the street is filled with armies while the roofs are full of rebels waiting to fight back. A war is about to take place. The group leaves to get to the boat. The streets are filled with smog, sheep, dead bodies, and cries. They try to get to the street but see that the rebels are being killed by the soldiers in their Hummers. They sneak through the streets and reach the escape route, but the fishes catch them. The group holds them down and tries to kill Theo, but Luke stops them. Luke asks Key about the baby and takes her away while reprimanding him. He asks his goons to kill them all after Key passes the corner. The main fish kills the guard before they're engaged in a shoot-off with the armies, allowing Theo and the gypsy woman to escape. Theo goes after Luke to get Key back, but sees that Luke and his men are surrounded by the armies. They go into hiding inside a building while surrounded by tanks and soldiers. He sees that the soldiers are firing indiscriminately, even shooting at unarmed citizens. The soldiers are flanking the building with mortar shells. Theo immediately goes inside, slowly reaching the top where Key is, while shocked by the chaos inside. He finally reaches Key and her baby, but is stopped by Luke. Luke asks them to stay because they need the baby, but after learning that it's a girl, he reminisces about his sister. Luke is killed. Theo and Key try to get out, but notice a strange phenomenon. Everyone in the building is mesmerized by the baby's cries, including the gun-touting rebels and soldiers. They ask for a ceasefire and let them move out. The soldiers outside are also in a trance, letting Theo and Key pass unharmed before going back to shooting the building. They meet the gypsy woman and go along with her to the escape point. Marichka takes them to a boat and asks both of them to go while she stays back. Theo rows the boat to safety. Key is doubting whether the ship will come for them, but he assures her everything will be okay. They see fighter planes bombing the city. Key is alarmed by blood in the boat. She panics, but Theo tells her that it's him who is bleeding. Key learns that Theo got shot and begins to worry. Theo, knowing his time is near, asks her to take care of herself and the baby. He teaches her how to burp the baby before fading slowly. Key tells him that she will name the baby Dylan, explaining how it is a girl's name too. Theo, with a smile on his face, passes away. Key is devastated, but tomorrow is seen on the horizon. Key is happy to see the ship, alerting Theo as well, telling him that they are safe now. The movie ends with the sound of children laughing in the background.